Welcome to Gullah Talk, where we moving forward, onward, and upward through culture, education, and economics. On this first episode of Gullah Talk, we got none other than Dr. Shawn Mitchell, better known as the Sneaker Duck, that's been gone from his city for 15 years. But he decided to come back to his city to open up businesses while still keeping his true cultural heritage alive. On this first episode of Gullah Talk, we're going to talk about what did he learn while he was gone, his educational background, and what's his plans moving forward. This is Gullah Talk. Like, share, subscribe.
It feels good to be back, man. To be honest with you, ain't no place like home. No place like home.
So where were you at? What city you were at?
I was in a few cities. I was in Nashville, Memphis, out in Columbia, and I lived in New York for a little while. So yeah, I've been pretty much all over.
So how is it like? Is it very different from 15 years ago?
Charleston?
Charleston.
Charleston is really different because when I left, after leaving high school. So my mind state when I think about Charleston is high school and before. Most of my college years, I was coming back and forth to Charleston, but I've only been a visitor. So moving back, it's like I came back as an adult, so I see the city in a whole different light.
Are you like accustomed? Is it like what's changed? Did the lingo change?
No, the lingo actually stayed the same. Which when you don't hear this lingo all the time, it kind of throw you off when you first hear it again. Like if somebody's saying they about to stick somebody, like you don't hear that. You don't hear that in other places. So like it's the lingo is the same, but I haven't been around the lingo, so I had to reacclimate myself back to the lingo. So.
Got you.
But a lot of stuff has changed as far as like the architecture. A lot of the buildings are different. A lot of the stores where used to be staple stores, they're gone now. Like Bluestein's and Superbad used to be on King Street now. Mm-hmm. They both closed down. So that was a big shock for me.
How was you received? How do you think you were received when you came back home? Of course, mom and dad was ecstatic, but like, how you feel like the city received you? Old friends.
Oh, yeah. So
old. Because you ain't Shawn from 04.
True. I am not him. I feel like the people received me with first apprehension because I don't look the same way I used to look when I left.
True.
I got a beard. I wear glasses now and stuff like that. So at first it was apprehension. Then they put their little test out to see if if you're the same person that they remember. And then based off of how you respond to that tester, that's how some people who know me, they break right through that, and they're like, I know you got all these titles and stuff, but you Shawn.
So you're not bothered by like the testing, the part of let me.
No. That's a part of our culture. Charleston people, like, we're very apprehensive of strangers. We're apprehensive of new. We're very apprehensive of change. So when we approach those things, we always approach it with caution.
Proceed with caution.
a foreigner comes into our land, we Gullah Geechee people now. First of all, we strangers in a strange land to start off with. Yeah. Second of all, we're going under gentrification. Third of all, we're getting these #1 city in America, but it's based off of a tourism industry that's based off of slavery. So then you have...
That's not really even giving back.
It's not giving us anything back. Not and I feel like the fact that the industries don't give us anything back, we got to stop asking them for what we believe we deserve. We should just take our culture, encapsulate it, and say, no, you too have to pay for it. That's why I built the whole brand off of Sweetgrass, because it's ours. Why are we going to another culture for permission to use what's already ours? I'm not asking you permission to use my culture. I'll just create an avenue for myself, and you're going to have to come through me in order for you to live carefree, brandishing my culture. It has to come through me. It doesn't make sense for me to go through you to be like, can I express my culture? And you being like, no, you can't do that. That don't make no sense to me.
Doctor in what? Dental surgery?
Yeah, DDS, doctor in dental surgery.
All right, let's back up a little bit. Education. Like, what's the steps to becoming a dentist? For people who just...
Okay, that's good. For people who don't know, my name is Shawn Mitchell, DDS, and DDS stands for Doctor of Dental Surgery. Other dentists will have DMD on the back of theirs. It just depends on what school you graduated from. The first step is, graduating high school. After I graduated high school, I did 4 years at South Carolina State University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I majored in biology. I minored in chemistry. After that, I took a prerequisite exam called the DAT. From the DAT, I applied to Meharry Medical College. Meharry Medical College put me in this program based off of my DAT score, which was put me in this program called a post-baccalaureate program for 1 year. And what it did was it prepared me to take the DAT over, but if I fulfilled the contract of the post-bac program, I would be admitted into the next class at Meharry. I fulfilled my requirement, I honored my contract, and I was admitted into Meharry. So I did post-bac at 2009, and then 2010 and 2014, I was at Meharry Medical College. After Meharry Medical College, I graduated 2014, and then I was admitted into a residency, a general practice residency in Bronx Lebanon Hospital in New York. I did my first year as a GPR resident, and I did, they say I did pretty good, and they offered me, and I applied to be a chief resident for my second year, and they granted me the opportunity to be a chief resident.
So let's back up. Your schooling, from how you felt like your foundation of education been from elementary to high school. Let's stay there.
I was always in. I feel like my education, even though it was Charleston County School, I feel like I was prepared. I feel like I knew more than a lot of my colleagues. I feel like I had a good basic structure. And the basic structure started in elementary school.
Do you feel like you were like smart? Or because most people when they hear doctor, you hear he's the geek. He was the geek in the class. He's probably just a smart kid.
I feel like that's.
Did you fall under that category?
Yeah. I guess I would say I was a little nerdy. But I don't feel like I was that smart. I never felt like I was that smart. I never felt like I was so extraordinary. I just felt like in the places that I was put in, the work really wasn't that challenging. When I got to a place where the people around me, everybody in the room was considered smart, that's when I dropped that whole notion. I'm like, I'm not smart. I'm gifted, but I've seen what smart is. I've seen what someone would be like, that's a genius. I've seen that. I've sat in classrooms with people like that. I am not like that. I have something where I don't quit. I have the hustle to get the same results as somebody who's gifted.
So, high school you went to?
I went to West Ashley High School in Charleston, South Carolina.
How was your high school experience?
I hated high school. I hate high school to this day. I don't even like going to West Ashley. I hated it.
Why?
I was partly functionally depressed. Now that we got all the terms for it, I could be like, oh, that's what that was. Yeah, I was like really. I had real life image issues. I had issues with my. I had body image issues. I had mental stability issues. I had a lot of things that I was bringing to school.
Why? Why? Like, meaning, why did you have those issues then?
I think it's just a product of the environment that we was in. I started to realize that a lot of my peers, I started to rebel against the idea that my peers weren't matriculating with me. You start to have survivor's guilt. A couple of your homeboys get locked up for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of people start dying.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah, because
next door neighbor got killed.
Do you feel like when you was going through school, you picked the wrong crowd to be with? Because you grew up in Ponderosa before.
Yeah. I mean, you grew up in Ponderosa, man. I didn't pick that crowd. That crowd was who lived in Ponderosa. I love them people, man. Like I didn't think that.
I love them to this day.
I didn't think that I picked wrong. I just think that we was kind of naive about our circumstances. We didn't know about the world. We didn't know we were being hunted. We didn't know all these issues that if you got caught with weed, what would really happen to you. You had an idea, but you didn't think that it would go as far as it went, as early as it went. But ask people about me from high school. I'll be vocal about this. Nobody remembers me from high school. Very few people remember me from West Ashley High School. If anybody. That's how quiet I was. That's how out of the way I was. That's how forgettable I was.
Me and your brother, total opposite. But in your opinion, how you feel about the HBCU experience and versus, because you're a dentist that went to all HBCUs, and I know your counterparts are white boys, and people were questioning your credentials more than theirs, and like, talk about all of that.
All right. To start off with, after I graduated, really nobody ever questions my credentials.
Nobody.
Nobody.
I really think that's interesting. Like,
I think it happens, but it probably happens more to women than men.
True.
Black women probably get their credentials questioned far more than men.
Probably so.
So when it comes to PWI versus HBCU, which is like you said, it's a divisive argument. I'm gonna try to keep it simple. In my opinion, this isn't the world opinion. In my opinion, educational environment trumps curriculum. Because if the person in the environment has so many outside factors distracting them from focusing on the work, it doesn't really matter what you're trying to teach them. It's not going to go in. But my whole thing about the PWI versus HBCU is, dog, I don't care what you pick. Just live with it. Make your decision and live with it. Don't make it because of something else. Don't say I went to this school because this school they offered me no money, or this school they did. Just make your decision. Whatever it is that decision is, I have nothing to do with it. I really don't care. Live with it. Me personally, for people in my circumstance, I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you about what helped me prosper, and that was being in an environment where the people who were in it looked like me, acted like me, and understood where I came from. Likewise. And didn't ostracize that. If Likewise. You don't need that, go wherever you want to go. But my whole model is I go where I'm wanted and not where I'm tolerated. I do not go where if I feel like I'm being tolerated in a place where it's like, we have a diversity and inclusion, but we really don't. If I get a whiff of that, that's why I started my own business. That's all corporate is to me. Corporate was tolerance. A lot of these people didn't want to take orders from the black dentist. They ain't never seen a black dentist. They never seen one. So now it's just like, this girl is looking like, so I'm his assistant? Yeah, you're Dr. Mitchell's assistant. A lot of them was like, oh, this is a new experience, da, 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 but you still get that group that's like, I don't know about this.
Oh, yeah.
And then you be like, all right, well, you start seeing a little stupid stuff going on, and you go from company you thinking it's just this bad apple, then you go to another company, you see the same thing, you go to another company and see the same thing. After a while, you're going to realize, it's maybe just I need to remove myself from this whole tolerance atmosphere with the big salary and say, maybe I need to branch out on my own because I know what what I'm worth. So why don't I just take this show on the road? So
I ain't got to deal with all.
I don't have to deal with someone being like, oh well, I'm kind of apprehensive about being worked on by a black dentist because
he's 6'4" with dreads and he's my nurse.
Yeah, so I don't have to deal with that. Like my thing is, you look at the website on my front page of my website, you got my face sitting standing next to my wife. So if you can't couple with that, then don't call the office. So the people who sit in my office don't mind me being there. Actually, like, yo, I saw you on the website. I was like, this is where I actually wanted to be. That's who I want to work on.
Absolutely. And
that's who I enjoy working on. And overwhelmingly, it's been our community that has been sitting in the chair.
So Sweetgrass Dental.
Yeah, Sweetgrass Dental is
what experience can someone look forward to saying I'm going to Sweetgrass.
Okay, so if you're going to come to Sweetgrass Dental, first thing you need to understand is Sweetgrass Dental is a modern dental practice. Very, very modern. I use a lot of modern technology in my practice because dentistry has come a long way. I say in the last 15, 20 years. It's almost evolved so rapidly. So what you expect from that dentist that's been doing it since the 80s and the 70s and stuff is going to be a little different than how I approach it. I use a lot of technology in what I do, and I use a lot of modern techniques in my approach to dental problems. So I use intraoral cameras. I use intraoral scanners. I do 3D printing in my office. I will show you digitally your cavities on your x-ray. I can take a picture of your cavity. I can show you all of these things where you would believe that I don't know what the dentist was talking about. I'm very transparent in my approach. I teach you about what's going on in your mouth because when you're not with me, you need to have this knowledge so that you can teach your children this and you can prevent somebody else from having to sit in my chair or have pain. So when you come to Sweetgrass Dental, just know that you're going to go through the modern dental experience. Just allow yourself to go through it with an open mind. And by the end of it, I promise you, I will teach you more about your mouth than you knew when you came in.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't have that much knowledge about your mouth. So that's why I built it. I felt like I came from a low income, lower middle class, low class demographic. I felt like those people that need access to technology too. So I went out and I learned all this stuff, and then I packaged it all up, what I could bring back, and I brought it back and I offer it to my people. Mm-hmm. And that's what Sweetgrass Dental is.
When you think about like one of the businesses we started, Sweetgrass Clothing, let's like explain to the people why we started, how we started, and the meaning behind it. Because I don't think a lot of people understand our true meaning behind the clothing brand. You know, like, let's help the people out with that. So the first collection, Blood Moon. Why we needed that?
So our first collection was called the Blood Moon Collection. Mm-hmm. And before we get into anything, what you got to understand is our mother was a historian.
Yes. So
she kind of like, she taught school for 40 years, but her main thing was she taught us about ourselves.
More than anything.
More than anything, she taught us about ourselves. So if you read into Gullah Geechee heritage, we did a lot of, we coupled a lot of African spirituality with Christianity. And sometimes you can't tell the difference between the two. And one thing that was really big is our look into the skies for signs.
Yes.
It took us to freedom, and it also told us what was coming. So we learned how to study the sky, we learned how to study signs, we learned how to predict a lot of things. That traveled over the Middle Passage with us. It never left us. So one of the signs for redemption was the blood moon. It wasn't only ours. It was a lot of African people look at that sign, and it was a sign that redemption was coming.
Yes.
So our first collection was the blood moon collection to let everyone know who was wearing it that redemption was coming. Mm-hmm. Even if you didn't really gather that from it, it was a sign of redemption. So the colorway that we put into it was all colors found in the blood moon. So you had that dark red, you had the gray, you had the white, you had the black. So we created the whole brand, or the whole essence of the first collection, around the symbol of the blood moon. But our true thing when it comes to Sweetgrass clothing is the palmetto rose.
Yes.
So the palmetto rose, which is right here and right here, is a sign of love and protection. Back during the Civil War, when the men used to go and fight, they fought on both sides. The women would fashion this rose from palm leaf, and they would give it to the men, and the men would wear it on their lapel when they went to go fight the war, and it was a sign that someone loved and protected them. So no matter what was going on out there, this person was loved and protected. It has transitioned into a sign of you give it to your loved one, or you give it to your girlfriend or a significant other. And the kids started to make them and sell them downtown.
Yes.
Because the artisans would have their grandkids, and they would just teach their grandkids these skill sets, and their grandkids would go out there and make a little bit of money off of them. So what I feel like is, economically, if we say we're trying to prosper and we're trying to get ahead of this gentrification and all this stuff, and we want to have an economic base, we have to go as a unit. We can't go there as, I'm a dentist and I do my thing and I have this much to add to the table. It's like, no, the dentist needs to align with the personal trainer. That needs to align with the guy who makes suits. That needs to align with the girl who sells cupcakes. That needs to align with the woman who makes the soaps and the body washes and all that stuff. All of these things need to align for us to stand there and economically say that we have an economic base to where it's like we're generating this city millions of dollars, and if we don't get a chunk of the prosperity, we will remove that from the city's economy and be able to stand on our own too. Mm-hmm. If you're not willing to do that, then most times they're going to just be like, well, you're going to fall in line. I'm going to throw a big check at you. I'm going to throw a big check at the soap girl. She's going to fall in line. I'm going to give this personal trainer his own gym, and he's going to fall in line. I'm going to give her a bigger platform for her to host her radio stuff, and she's going to fall in line. That's a part of the psychological warfare, because you have to be for the cause, and for you being for the cause, your family may be in jeopardy for you being for the cause. Think about Martin Luther King. Think about Malcolm X. Who suffered the worst from their assassinations? The city was one thing, but they had children. Mm. You know what I'm saying? For him to march at Selma, and for him to do all of these speeches, the biggest thing he put in jeopardy was his own family. But he felt that like that was a necessary sacrifice for the greater good of the community, because him making the ultimate sacrifice made the community turn and say, well, we need to take care of his family. So I just feel like if you're not willing to put that whole broad picture on the line for you to say, I want economic advancement, no one who has the power is going to respect whatever you come with, because they can just dangle a check in front of a few of you and you'll break up the whole thing.
You want to know what's a person's goal. Mm. Because if someone said, well, this job offered me $300K, and you said, no, I want to come home and open up my business, how do one get to that standpoint? Because you open up Sweetgrass Dental, month later, COVID hit.
Yeah.
So
did you have those like, fuck? Or was it kind of like, this just the growing pains? I took COVID as a big pause button, and it made me reevaluate my why. Because when COVID hit, my wife was already pregnant. My wife was pregnant. My daughter was due in July. So that wasn't going to stop. I can't do business right now, but I'm still going to have a daughter in July, so that's not going to stop. So what do you do? You got to sit down and ask yourself, what am I in this for? What am I here for? What am I doing this for?
Did you ever at one time want to say, let me just go back to...
No. I know what I left. When I leave something, I'm leaving with intention. I thought about what the ramifications of me leaving it, and I'm okay with what happens with that. See, some people are so scared of being poor, they'll do whatever to maintain a false sense of reality of them prospering. I'm not afraid of being poor. I have no fear of poverty. I have no fear of having nothing tomorrow. I have no fear of that. That's how I live most of my life. I just recently started making a substantial salary.
How did you get to that point where you was like, you know what, $300K? No, I'm gonna open up a business in Charleston, possibly go in debt, might not be that successful.
The answer is simple: knowledge of self.
Knowledge of self.
Knowledge of self is paramount, because if you have no knowledge of self, what you begin to equate is salary with self. You start to equate career with self. Those things aren't self. Those things are pseudo ideologies that growing up in the capitalistic system places on you. Knowledge of self makes you see who am I within this capitalistic system. I am a black man from Charleston, South Carolina. And then I have to ask myself, why would someone offer me a salary this substantial? It's the same question that Master P asked himself. You gonna tell me, you gonna say, you gonna offer me $1 million for my records? That means I can make $1 million. That's what I said. I said, if you offering me $300K, $250K, that means I can make $250K. I can make $300K. I can create $300K. But if you understand reading, if you have to read. You have to fill your mind up with a bunch of stuff, and it'll all come clear. Starting to get into business, you realize that you can't be an employee unless you yourself generate 3 times your salary. And if you get into the real capitalistic mind state, you're generating 4 and 5 times that. So I'm generating at least $600,000 if they're gonna pay me $200,000. So if your job say I pay you $50K to do this job, you're generating at least $150K for that person. So your salary is, you're generating that on your own, and they're cutting off that part and giving it to you and keeping the rest of what you generated. I said, instead of me being another cog in this machine, let me go figure out what they know to get myself to $300K.
So what if someone says, Shawn, like, I got kids, man, I got bills. Like, I understand what you're saying, but right now, I can't afford to take that leap.
I would say excuses are tools of incompetence built on foundations of nothingness. Those who specialize and unspecialize in little or nothing else.
They would say you harsh though.
You would say that.
You have no compassion.
But we all have a reason to quit. If you black in America, you have a reason to quit. Every person that's black in America has a reason to stop going forward.
That's what anything.
I'm talking about, we all have a story that could have been like, this story, if you told people that this happened to you, they will understand why you couldn't go forward. We all have them. I just don't give mine that much credence. So it looks to you that he doesn't have issues. He doesn't have the same problems that I do. No, I got worse problems than you. I just don't give those problems any credence. I don't give those problems a second to breathe, because I know what my ultimate or the ultimate goal is. That's what separates me as far as mentality from a lot of my peers.
Last thing, fatherhood. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. I just had my daughter, July 27th. Over a month. Yeah, we going on 2 months.
How does it change you?
Having a daughter has taught me a lot about being present within the moment and how I delegate my time. When I'm holding Nova and I'm having daddy-daughter time, as I like to call it, she only wants me to be in that moment. She doesn't care about what's going on with the business, what's going on with the clothing brand. She just wants me to be in that moment, to play with her. You know, I always speak affirmations to her, stuff like that. So, fatherhood to me is a beautiful thing, but I waited until I was in a certain position before I did it. And I feel like I'm reaping the benefits of doing that. So, I'm in my 30s, but fatherhood has definitely been different. But I got a wife where she's like built for this. She's really taking on motherhood by the horn. So it's been pretty good.
So you love it? Makes you feel?
Yeah, man. I love being a father, man. Fatherhood is dope. It's dope.
Nice talking to you, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad to have you home, brother.
I'm glad to be home, man. I ain't gonna hold you, dog. I'm glad to be home.
Good to have you back home.
Right.
This is Gullah Talk. Like, share, subscribe. This is episode 1, Gullah Talk. The purpose of Gullah Talk really is just to really take the average mind and expand it. But expand it through what? Dialogue. Having the necessary conversations. So at the end of each episode, you're going to hear from me what I took from the dialogue that I have. So this is my whole thing about coming home. When I think about home and what inspires me the most to stay home is when I see my homegirl, Chris Kalen. Shout out to Chris Kalen, Weekend Diva. When I see my dog, JB, Justin, be yourself. When I see my homeboy from high school days, the dropping pin, teaching us how to travel. When I look at the sisters, the cocktail bandits. When I look at the queen of the city, Courtney the Poet, and creating the nightlife. Then when I look at my counterpart, Mr. Weather, also giving us the day party vibes. When I look at OG Life and how he started the OG Life brand, which then made us branch into the Sweetgrass. When I look at my frat brother Marvis every day when he tell us to be encouraged. These things are the natives of the people that we grew up with, and we decided to come home to be that light for the people in darkness. For that young boy to look at us one day and be like, I could be a dentist, I could be a nurse, I can throw parties, I can open up venues. For that young girl to say, I am beautiful, I can write, so I can call Twana T and she can show me how to PR a business. If everybody leaves, who will be there to tell the story? In my opinion, I think that's where the vultures come in. They see where there's a lack thereof, and they come in and disguise themselves as they one of us, and then eventually they just exploit the culture for what it is. But when you come back home after getting all the lessons you learn, you become the gatekeeper. You can see the real from the fake. You can see the sheeps and the wolves. So I pledge everybody, for whatever reason you left, or whatever opportunities out there, I ain't knocking you. Do your thing. Live your life. But if you do decide to come home with something. Come home with a resource that we can use. Come home to give a lesson to people that wouldn't necessarily get the lesson. Because, quite frankly, there are some places where you be like, home don't have that opportunity. It's missing a lot of opportunities. What I would say to you is missing you. But what do I know? This is Gullah Talk. Like, share, subscribe.